Hello, it is March 27, 2025, Thursday afternoon, about 2:30, and today I am going to be walking part of the Seawall Campground in Acadia National Park here on the southern tip of Mount Desert Island. So let me turn the camera around and show you where I'm going. Okay, this is the entrance. It's still closed, which makes it a good place to walk. And you start out any walk into here with about a 200-yard walk to get to the entrance station. And I'll take that time to tell you a little bit about the history of this campground. Now, Acadia National Park grew by gradual accumulation of land. It started out as Sieur de Mont National Monument over by Bar Harbor. And over the years, since the 1910s, it has slowly grown as it either purchased land or land was donated to it. And a lot of the land here was purchased where this campground is, but a little bit was donated. Basically, where we're walking right now, back in about 1918, was acquired by the U.S. government for a U.S. Naval radio station. And they built a radio transmitter station here, and they had a receiver station over near Otter Creek with an underwater cable connecting the two. And this stayed in the hands of the Navy till about 1930. And the Navy then closed its station, and the land was shifted to Acadia National Park. And in the early 30s, they started construction of this campground. It being the early 30s, there wasn't a lot of money to go out and hire people to build this campground. So the Works Progress Administration and Civilian Conservation Corps provided the labor to build the campground. And it is, consequently, 85 years old, something like that, and a little older. This building here is the entrance station. It was built in the 30s and is still here. I think it's had a couple of small additions. I think this little front bit was added, and the back piece was the original entrance station. See the big stone chimney there? There was a fireplace inside. And yeah, so this is actually quite a historic structure, dating back at least 85 years. Now, initially, they platted and built Loop A right here. I doubt it had an asphalt road through it initially. And there were about 38 campsites in there. And I'm not going to walk it today. Instead, I'm going to walk B Loop, which is the next loop back. And so B Loop was built, I'm not sure if it was simultaneously or a year later than A Loop. And then C Loop was built at the back of the campground, and it was built as an RV camping area for people with travel trailers. And that again was in the 1930s. And the other loop, D loop, was not built until the 50s because the land that it was on was still in private hands. And it wasn't until the 1950s that the park acquired that land. I don't know if it was donated or if they bought it, but then they built the walk-in campground loop, which explains one of the things that used to puzzle me about this campground. You got A loop, B loop, then D loop, the walk-in campground loop, and then at the very back, C loop. So I always wondered why D came before C, but now I know. So here is the road that continues back to the RV camping area, C loop, and D loop right over here, which is walk-in tent camping. There are about 120 tent sites in there. In the back, there are around 35 to 40 RV sites. And also just around the corner up there is the parking area and path that goes to the campground's amphitheater. Okay, but we're going to go down here. This is B loop. B loop is my favorite loop here in terms of, what the campsites look like. This is the most heavily forested loop, and it is consequently, from my point of view, quite pleasant. There are campsites up through 27, although there are at least two numbers that aren't used. This is campsite 27. It's quite isolated from the other campsites, but it's fairly close to the road, which goes back to C and D loops. So that would make it a little bit noisier during the day. But it's quite isolated. So let's walk around. We will follow the direction here, although the one-way signs don't apply to walking. And you can see the road here is quite narrow. This is a tent camping loop only, drive-in tent sites. As I said, it's numbered up to 27, but I think they're either 25 or 26 sites. And here's site 1, which is back toward the road, and has a nice stone fire pit. Those date from the 30s, and a picnic table. And there's site 2, again with another stone fire pit. We'll just keep around. You can see it's a nice forested campground, and the sites are not too close together, with a couple of exceptions. Right now we're walking back more or less parallel to the road that we walked in on. And a couple more. Here's campsite 4. Little pool of water back there that might be a source of mosquitoes in the summer. And campsite 3 is up a little hill there. This is a path over to the restrooms. Down there, you can just see a little bit of the building in the distance. There are restrooms with running water here, but they do not have showers. And here is a water station. These are spaced around the campground. You can get water there. It's potable water, and that stone plinth there with the wooden cover on top is a spot to dump your wash water from dishes. And here's Site number 5, this one's quite small and close to the road. And site number 6, also relatively small and close to the road. And this one does not have one of those stone campfire sites. There's number 7, and that is the entrance station right up there. And we got a bit of a walk before we get to the next campsite. There's a little stream flowing through here, and any spot where you find water here, if it's running, that means that in the spring there may be black flies, and the rest of the summer could be mosquitoes. Although I've walked in this campground many times, I have never encountered either a black fly or a mosquito. But I've never been in here right at dusk. Okay, here's site number 8. As you can see, it's a ways back from the road. Make it a little bit more isolated and pleasant. And another path to the restrooms. And up here, we have site 9. Another one that's set back a bit from the road with a stone fire pit and relatively easy access to the restrooms. I'm running low on battery, so I'm going to stop for a minute until we get up here to something a little more interesting. Well, let's see. I can keep going. Well, you can see we're sites 10 and 11 that are back toward the restroom there, and on this side fairly close to the road. Site 12 is a handicapped access site. I'm not sure what makes it handicapped access. It's relatively close to the road with a metal fire pit. And site 13 is here. It's set quite a ways back there and has one of the stone fire pits. We'll keep going. There's a restroom again. This is a relatively small loop, and I can tell from the smell of freshly cut wood that the Park Service has been in here cutting fallen trees. Here are 15 and 16. 16 is off this little access to the left there, and 15 is a little further back. So these two are not very well separated, and maybe if we're traveling with somebody else, be a good choice. Here's number 17. Again, fairly close to the road. Gotta pick the pace up a little. I'm running low on battery. And here are 19 and 20. Again, I don't see 18. 19's way back there. A little quite peaceful. 20 is close to the road. 21 and 22 are next. Both are pretty far back and well separated. And there's 22 back there. Stone fire pit and everything. And another stone fire pit back there. Okay. And we're just about finished with the loop here. And I think I have just enough battery to finish filming this campground loop. It's 23, fairly close to the road. And 24, also close to the road. And very close to what I think is campsite 2 behind it. Now here's 25, close to the road. path over to the restrooms right here. They're covered with nice bark chips. And the last campsite is campsite 26, which is set way back there. Nice isolated site, quite a ways from any other site, and very peaceful. And then just up here, we'll be out of B Loop. And I will show you campsite 27 again. All right. Okay, here's the entrance to campsite 27. As I said, the only negative to this campsite is it's close to the main road going back to C&D loops. And there's campsite 27 back there in the woods with a couple little stone walls and a stone fire pit. And right up here, we're back to the entrance to B Loop. Another feature of this campground is that it's actually quite close to the ocean, and that if you go back to the entrance, instead of walking into the entrance, if you go across the road, it's only 50 yards into the Seawall picnic area right on the water. So if you're staying here, except for the RV loop, you can walk to the ocean in 5 or 6 minutes. And it's very nice. And that's something a lot of the campgrounds here in the national park don't have. So with that, I'll end the video and say thank you for watching.